kids love to be a part of their own success. They have to be in control of their success, but they have to be given the tools to succeed. And as a coach, that's all I did was give them the tools. And one of the best things to watch is to watch kids take ownership of their own success.
This episode is brought to you by the Arts Council for Monterey County. What makes life feel real? It's expressing yourself, finding your people, and using art to heal, grow, and be heard. The Arts Council for Monterey County, Arts4MC, believes the arts benefit everyone. They bring art into schools, community centers, and public spaces, and support students with scholarships, workshops, and programs like Poetry Out Loud and Youth Poet Laureate. Whether you're an artist or just looking to be inspired, your journey starts here. Learn more at arts4mc.org. That's arts, the number 4, mc.org. And remember, they're also proud sponsors of this podcast. So thank you to the Arts Council for Monterey County.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Offline Xpression. My name is Jeff Hinderscheid. I am your host, and I am joined by my amazing youth ambassador and co-host, Victoria Jones. Victoria, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
We are back. Today, we are joined by an amazing guest from the East Coast all the way over in North Carolina, Mr. Antwaun Thompson. Antwaun, go ahead and say hello to the people for us.
Hello, everybody, to Ricardo's here. I'm excited to be here. Excited to have a brisk conversation with you.
Excellent. Very nice. Very nice. You know, we've had a lot of guests recently from very hot parts of the country, and we get to brag a little bit, and I know we should be knocking on wood here, but we've been lucky this summer. Last summer in Central California, it was brutal. It was like 115, like probably, I don't know, 10 out of 12 days, and it was awful. And this summer, it's been a lot more manageable, but I feel like the other shoe's going to drop soon. Like we'll be hot all the way through October, but it's been relatively nice. And you said over there it's kind of brutal right now?
Yeah, it's 90 degrees today, but we've been averaging to mid-90s. And even at night, my wife was telling me the night before it's 84 degrees at midnight.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just really humid, man. It's brutal. It's not like I need a tan, but I got to cut the grass sometime.
Yeah, man. The humidity is what kills me. I'm pretty good in dry heat, but I don't know. I don't really burn as much, but the humidity, I don't like being sticky. And that's the part that I don't think I can handle it. So my hat goes off to anybody who has to deal with that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that because when I cut the grass, I actually have one of those fans, the belt fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I took my wife's. I had one in the front and one in the back, and it worked out pretty good.
That's a good way to do it. Victoria, we have those, sometimes we use the little fans in the theater and stuff like that. There's this one that we have that you've probably seen these. They go around the neck and they just blow right on your neck and up on the face. And okay, whoever invented that, it could be the greatest genius of all time. Victoria, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's new?
Nothing. Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Just going through life, having fun days.
Yeah. You're enjoying the last days of summer.
Last day of summer, yeah. I the only thing that's new is I clean my room, but that's not very much of a feat.
I might disagree. I think that is a feat. When you do something productive, celebrate that win. Celebrate that win.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love that you said, I mean, the only thing that's new is that I clean my room. You clean your room. It's all good. Antwaun, how are you, man? How you doing?
I am doing great. I think I've been having some issues with my back and all that stuff's coming together pretty good and almost back to 100%, ready to get back to doing the things I do. And one of the things I like to do is play drums. I play drums and we're starting to try to get back to that. And I realized I got some muscle loss that I got to get back. So I'll be playing a little bit more here in the next few weeks.
Oh man, that's cool. Drums are so cool, and that's definitely going to be affected by back stuff, right? You have to sit up, and
Sure.
the way that you're supporting your arms and stuff. I imagine that's a brutal thing to try to do when you're in pain.
Yeah, it is. And mine set is actually a 23 piece. So I actually have
Whoa.
three basses, 12 toms. And I mean, so yeah, I got to like go like all the way around. So yeah, it's pretty intensive.
That's awesome. If you have a set like that, you're pretty serious.
Oh, well, I'm a big Neil Peart fan from Rush.
Oh, heck
And
yeah.
I want to get my drum set to look like his. That's my goal.
Excellent. You got the double bass pedal?
Around. Oh, I have one, two, three. I have five bass pedals.
No, you do not. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Neil Peart's the man. Like that. Oh, you can't even the sounds that you hear when he plays is like it's happening so fast you can't even believe that that one human being is doing all of that at one time. It's pretty incredible. Yeah. So, well,
His independence. I mean, just the control, and he played so effortlessly, or he played so effortlessly.
Right.
So that's the biggest part for me. I struggle just, some things. I love work up a sweat, man.
Yeah.
The lights over, pretend like I'm in concert, and turn all the other lights off, and just, just go to town.
Yes.
It's great, man. It's a great release.
Oh yeah, and it's artistic. I mean, it's music, and there is something so beautiful about spending your time doing something creative and involved in the arts in that way. So that's cool. That's really cool. Well, we're glad that you're back to it. You're almost 100%. I mean, Victoria, take care of your body, my friend. Take care of your body. When I was your age, I think is the first. I was a little younger than you the first time I hurt my back. I was visiting friends in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they had those big trampolines in the backyard. And so we were doing all kinds of dumb stuff, trying to do backflips and see if we could jump off the roof onto the stupid trampoline and see what happened. Well, what happened was I landed right on my head as I was going around on the trampoline. So luckily it wasn't on the ground, so I didn't just really get a traumatic brain injury, but it gave just enough to where the spine just went ba-de-doot, and the lower back put me on the couch, and that was when I was like 12. So from that point on, anytime there was an injury, it was absolutely brutal. So, but you don't learn that stuff when you're young. You just think you're invincible, and off you go to the next thing, right? You heal up quicker, and then later in life, I remember my parents always saying, "Well, someday that's going to come back and bite you or whatever," and it's like, someday's so far away. Yeah, some of those are.
Jump ahead, right? I'll give you an example. You talk about age. So we're working with kids in the gym, and we're doing our things. And there's been some open gyms where we didn't have enough kids. And they're like, "Hey, Coach T, will you play with us?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I will." And they start going, "You got your back brace on?" I'm like, "Yeah." You got your knee sleeves on? I'm like, "Yeah." "You got your ankle braces on?" I say, "Yeah." They say, "Okay, you can play." Because they know if I don't put all that on and I come home and start complaining to my wife that I'm in pain, she's going to give it to me. So the kids look out for it, but they also recognize that I'm not a young kid anymore.
Oh, that's sweet. They care about you. They want you to play, but they also don't want to see you hurt.
Getting hurt, yeah.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That is cool. Well, Antwaun, we're so glad that you're here with us, man. I know that it's been a long time coming. So for our listeners, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and the things that you're into, and how you're going about all of that. I know you work with kids and stuff, so tell us about it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, to be honest with you, Jeff and Victoria, to start off with, everything I do is based on one person, and the person is my father. My father was not my biological father, but he adopted my older brother and I when we were about 3 or 4 years old. He served 30 years in the United States Marine Corps, served 2 tours of Vietnam, and unfortunately, we lost him in 1996 to leukemia from exposure to Agent Orange when he was in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And I'm having a conversation with you two today because of him. And I started a nonprofit, and the nonprofit is named in his honor. It's called JLT Fieldhouse. His name was Joe Louis Thompson. And it is based on what he taught us is when people need help, you give help without any expectation of reward. And my personal experience, I tried out the basketball for years growing up. I played 1 year of organized. I got cut every year in high school, but I love the sport so much. I said, hey, I'm not going to give up on it. If I can't play, I'm going to coach. So for 39 years, I've been coaching basketball. And I'm so glad I got cut in high school because I know for a fact that I'm providing more now as a coach than I ever could have had I played the game. I don't think I would have had an appreciation for it. And the reason I started a nonprofit is to give kids that on that lower level or that just a step below making team, want to give every kid an opportunity and teach them the things that I know will help them get over the hump. And it went far beyond my expectations. Started off with a one-on-one client, and that evolved into in 2019 we had over 250 kids in our 5 summer camps, and we had camps for every student. We had our 1st through 4th grade co-ed camp, we had a 5th through 8th grade co-ed, a 5th through 8th grade girls camp, and then we had a 9th through 12th grade boys camp. And it was probably one of the best feelings in the world, and not even involved in us having summer camp, summer league for kids. And the great thing about the summer league was the coaches for the summer league were the high school students that were a part of the program. They were teaching the 1st through 4th graders and the 5th through 8th graders. So it's about, as our mission statement is, coaching and mentoring the leaders of tomorrow. And that's what we do through the sport of basketball, is teach life skills through sport. And it teaches communication, responsibility, accountability, teamwork, and collaboration and things of that nature. So that is what I do. And when COVID hit, it basically shut down a nonprofit for 11 months. So all of that growth just disappeared overnight.
Oh, man.
And I had an opportunity to go, hey, I love what I do, but I can't do it in the gym, but I still can make an impact with kids. So I said, hey, let me try to start something new. So I started Coach T's Corner, which is an online coaching and mentoring business where I still get an opportunity to teach life skills, but it's more direct. And while sitting there, ended up writing a book, which is called, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's The Sea of Success, the ultimate guide to success for preteens and teens. And it basically outlines the things to teach through sport, but talking about the importance of responsibility and how the next generation of leaders have the ability and the willingness, but they also have the voice that they need the opportunity to be heard. And so that's kind of where we are now. And it's just my life's mission. My wife and I were able to have kids of our own. And for a few years after, it was kind of tough to deal with. But I came to a realization that we weren't able to have kids because I felt as though I was given the gift to impact more kids than just was we would have potentially had. So that is another reason why I think what I do matters.
Wow. That's a pretty inspiring story.
For sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, a couple of things that stand out. First of all, hello to a fellow adopted kid. That's me as well. I know what it's like to have people rise up and do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. And that is pretty remarkable, right? And it teaches us a lot going forward. So sounds like your dad was a pretty amazing person, went through a lot for sure, especially with, the Marine Corps and Vietnam and leukemia and Agent Orange. Oh my gosh. Like that's quite the story in and of itself. But to kind of leave such an intense mark that has led you down this path is a really beautiful legacy. I think you said, doing something for others, helping others and not expecting anything in return. That is a really great bottom line mission statement, like when you really look at it, because if we're always doing something for some sort of symbiotic relationship because we have an ulterior motive or something of that nature, things can get convoluted when your motivations aren't there correctly, and it kind of affects you, so making sure that if something comes back, because something always does come back, that's the irony, right? Like you're not expecting anything in return, but you're filling your bucket and you're filling someone else's bucket. And so there's some beautiful thing that happens anyway without this expectation of a tangible physical response that is beneficial in some way. So that's really great. With the nonprofits and coaching, how did you go from, how did that transition work from coaching basketball to coaching life?
Yeah. So Think about it, like I said, what teaching life skills through sport. I'll use the last school I was coaching. I'll actually share some really exciting news at the end. But I spent 11 years coaching at this private school, it's like 10 minutes away. And the first 2 years, this team won 6 games and we lost 34 games in 2 years. And these were fifth and sixth graders. And then they moved to seventh and eighth, and the seventh and eighth grade coach left, and they asked me if I want to move up. I'm like, sure, I'd love to stay with these kids for another 4 years. Well, after those 2 years of losing, we went to 7 consecutive championship games, and we won 5 championships of those seven, three undefeated seasons. We
Wow.
won 125 wins and 20 losses during that time. And so I say all that to tell you how that happened was teaching responsibility, accountability. Kids love to be a part of their own success.
Hmm.
They have to be in control of their success, but they have to be given the tools to succeed. And as a coach, that's all I did was give them the tools. And one of the best things to watch, Jeff and Victoria, is to watch kids take ownership of their own success. And all you do is just drop seeds there and you sit back and you're like, wow, you made the goosebumps telling you this because it's just one of the best feelings in the world. And then to watch these kids. But the other part was it was contagious because we had more of the kids that wanted to play and be a part of it. But the other kids were like, yeah, you could be a part of it, but you need to understand you're going to have to work for it. Nothing's going to be given to you. And they truly set the standard for not just the sport, but for themselves about holding themselves accountable, being responsibility.
Hmm.
And our mission, our team motto was team before self. So it was never about the individual. The individuals collectively make the team, and the team had one ultimate goal and it had to be done collectively.
Oh, goosebumps indeed. I find that pretty remarkable. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's really important for teamwork. I swim in my high school and I find myself getting really caught up in all of my individual things, and I think I should just focus on the team success more. We won our championship this year, but like I'm still caught up in all my like individual like times and all that.
Well, you know what? It's funny because that's such an individual sport in some ways. So the fact that it is team related, there's this weird juxtaposition. You have to be setting your own goals for personal records in regard and in relationship to the team. So that's a good point. Also, Victoria, I want to know if this resonated with you at all, but Antoine, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what those rewards you're referring to are. I have a very similar story, but it's more in the theater arts realm. I love theater and I didn't get to go and do the Broadway thing myself, but then I started directing and working with kids and teaching and doing that sort of thing. And we live in a really small rural town, and so the arts are just not revered as much, okay? And so we had to make it important. And so by getting kids involved and just helping them with that same exact thing that you're saying, you got to just give them the tools and say you got to work hard and then watch them be a part of their own success and then rise up and be incredible. And then it's, there's not awards, it's not a competition per se. It's a little bit of a different thing, but the personal growth, it's all those life skills you're talking about: teamwork, collaboration, empathy, goal setting, confidence. All those same things apply because they spread out along all of the areas of life. And so when you were saying all that, I was like, yeah. It's like that. Victoria, do you feel that did you hear any of that in what he was talking about, kind of what we deal with and what we work with the younger kids when they're coming up and stuff?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because when you have something to show for it in sports, like you go from the Bad News Bears, right, to all the way up to 5 championships with seven shows that you get to go to.
Right.
That proof is in the pudding. Like, it's everywhere. Everyone knows it because that doesn't just happen. It's not like you just suddenly got a Michael Jordan on the team and that's because you suddenly got somebody that turned the whole thing around. It's the team culture, the philosophy. Something had to start at the top. So that's pretty remarkable, man. What a run.
Yeah, it's I'll give you two ends of the spectrum so you truly get an understanding. It is not always about the winning part. that second year, the end of that second year, we play in a tournament. We're like, I think, well, we were in last place. So we're playing the number one team in the first round of the tournament in that second year, because every team in the conference got in the tournament. You're either first or last. We're dead last. So we're playing this game. We're losing by 30 some points. And it was the end of the third quarter. And one of the officials came over to me and he said, I could, I had to look up at the scoreboard because I could have swore this game was either tied or you guys were down by one. The way your kids are playing, it's like they could care less about the score. And he goes, those kids are impressive. And I said, that's what makes you proud as a coach. You're losing by 30, but the way the kids are playing, they realize it's not about the score, it's about them and how they're coming together as a team. And that carried over, obviously, leading into, what potentially happened after that. And then the other was, trying to get my thing off of here, is the other end of the spectrum is where we're playing a team and we're up by like 25 or something. And one of the officials came up to me and he said that your team plays like a high school team, just how close and connected they are. He said it's so impressive to see kids put the team before themselves. And I told him, I said, ironically, that's our team motto. But he said it's really impressive. And as a coach, I mean, you couldn't be prouder to hear, other people watching you and your team is just playing that well. And it made me think of one other. I think this one really brings it home. In the COVID year, we had a abbreviated season because of COVID, and we were going to play the only other undefeated team in the conference. So we're both playing for first place. We drive all the way there, 45-minute drive. As soon as I get there, phone rings. It's our AD, and he says, you got to send the eighth graders back to Salisbury. And I'm like, why? Because one of the eighth graders tested positive in the class, so they couldn't play. So I only have 13 players, had eighth graders and 5 seventh graders. And so all the eighth graders had to leave. I had 5 players to play against the other number one team in the conference. Oh, my game starts and we're down by like 20 early. I mean, they're just kicking our butts, which is to be expected. Well, I had a little four seventh graders and one sixth grader, The sixth grader, we scored 42 points. He scored 36 of those 42 points.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He single-handedly cut the game to 4 points, and we're playing the other one of the team. One of our other players fouls out, so I'm left with 4 players with about 2 minutes left in the game. They ended up obviously pulling away, winning by 12 or 14. The head of the school, the pastor, and about 4 or 5 parents from the other team came over and said, oh my gosh, the way those kids didn't give up, knowing they were against, their backs against the wall from the very beginning. And I actually got emotional drive home because I drove separately. Those are the kind of things where you go like, what you do matters and it's making a difference.
Yeah.
And that kid that scored the 36 points, he reclassed. He's now a sophomore here at a local school. He'll be one of the top players in our county. He's going to be at the D1 scholarship for sure. But he was a kid for 4 years and true epitome of leadership. And that was the first sign of it.
Wow. What a story.
That's incredible.
I know. I bet that kid felt awesome. He should, and was probably raised up like, especially young kids. Like my son's 10, and when he is, he's very emotional in lots of ways, right? He leads with raw emotion. So sportsmanship, how you lose, how you accept bad news, how you shake things off when they don't go your way. Like that is a huge part of team sports. And if you just keep fighting and pushing and working hard towards it, even if you're down, you're not giving up, you're not throwing a fit, you're not having an attitude problem, you're not, those things are hard to teach. They're really hard to teach because it's so normal at a certain age, at a certain developmental stage to have that raw response. So to learn that earlier through sport it's a huge skill and it goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And you were asking earlier, about teaching life skills or that same kid during his 8th grade year. This is probably, and I had to get their permission to tell this story. This is how amazing this story is. And this is the epitome of what young people are capable of. So we're practicing before the championship game. And I decided I was going to record some of the practice because I kind of wanted to show guys some of this 2 days before the tournament. So we had a couple practice left, videotaped, and we had something really funny happen. One of the kids got a rebound and passed it. Well, the teammate he was passing it to wasn't looking back, and the ball bounced off his head. So and we all laugh, have a great time. So I get home, I'm having fun with it. We had an app that we communicated with, Team Snap. So I edited it and put a little sound effect on it when it hit his head, and I sent it out to the team. It was boing, and all the kids laugh. Well, I send it out to the kids, and I'm like, "Hey, this is just for the team. This is not for anybody else to see, but just kind of a little a little lighthearted moment for the team or whatever." Well, I get to practice the next day, or get to school to start practice, and two of the eighth graders, just sixth graders, scored 36 points. Him and another teammate come up to me and they say, "Hey, Coach D, so and so showed the video to the girls in his class." And I'm like, okay. So my response was immediately, I said, "Well, what are we going to do about it?" And without hesitation, they said, "Well, I think he should sit in the bleachers and watch us run for his mistake." And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, okay, well, that's what we'll do. So when the kids come to practice, I pull the young man over and I said, "Hey, this was brought to my attention. Did you show the video to?" And he said, "Yes, sir, I did." I said, "Okay, well, here's what's going to happen." So he sits in the bleachers, and I'm not a believer in punishing kids and making them run. Running should be a part of practice. You don't punish kids for running, so running is part of it. But they understood what was happening. So the kids run, and I'm kind of checking up, and the kid he's getting emotional, he's tearing up and everything because he realizes, hey, I'm making a team paying for my mistake. So I said, okay, now this is fine. If you guys want to implement any other disciplinary action, that'll be your decision as a team. I'm satisfied with, what you did. So they said, well, can we talk about it? So they all get together at the end of practice, and they come back to me and they said, "Coach, we've all talked about it with him there, and we've all voted unanimously for our next game, which is a home game, the alumni game, where everybody comes back, big game. He would not get to play, nor would he get to dress out with the team."
Whoa.
And inside, I'm like, holy crap, these kids are brutal. So, I said, hey, listen, team decision, I respect it. So I asked him, I said, "Do you understand what's happening here?" And he said, "Yes, sir, I do." I said, "So what are you going to do?" He said, "I'm going to go home and tell my parents why I'm not going to be playing and why I'm not going to be dressing." And I explained to him, I said, "When you leave this gym, this is never to be spoken of again. I don't want to hear any teasing or anything like that. It was taken care of." Never heard anything from the parents. We played that game. He sat on the bench, cheered for his team like he normally would. And that, to me, shows accountability, responsibility that kids have for each other if you give them the opportunity to do it. So when I say, what are we going to do? They realize, hey, he's given us the opportunity to determine what happens. And these are the kind of examples where I say teach life skills through basketball and through sport.
Wow. There's so many things to unpack with that story.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the social psychology, the peer group is powerful. It's powerful. It's not just coming from an authoritative figure at the top telling you with a punishment or a reward or whatever. They are making that decision almost in a democratic way that is so much more effective to evoke real change. Like, if you would have come down on him with a big punishment, he might have been like, "Oh, this sucks," or whatever. And it might not have hit as hard. It might have just been like, "I got to try harder to get away with things." You know what I mean? Not that this kid would be that way, but that's how most people are with severe punishment, But the fact that it came from the peers and they started with that running in practice, that is hard to watch. It's hard to watch people you care about suffer for your mistake. And so that evokes an emotional change in your attitude about something. So already we've had some rehabilitation there, just from that. Then for them to come up with such a severe punishment, that is so much more powerful in relation to him showing a video to the girls. That was a social move. And now look how it affected this social group. You've been ostracized from that group for a while. You've been isolated. You've been put out. And no one wants to feel that way by their friend group ever.
We're social animals. We're pack animals. That hurts worse than anything you can do. In some cultures, up in the North Pacific side, like up in the Alaskans and stuff, like there are old tales about when somebody did something within a village that was against the law. They literally got the silent treatment from every single person in the village. They were just isolated for a time. No one could talk to them. They act like they are not even there. And that is like the worst punishment somebody could actually have. So there's some power in that is really, really intense. And empathy, right? How would you feel, those other teammates that got to make that decision, how would I feel if someone did that to me? But also, how would I feel if I was shamed and guilt tripped for it and everybody was mad at me all the time? No. All of that would be bad. Instead, we're going to make a decision. We're going to lay it out. Here it is. The sentence has been given. And then we're going to still treat you like our friend, and we're moving on. And that's an important life lesson in and of itself. What would you do, Victoria, if something like this happened?
I'd be really upset, but then you have to, if you get upset about that, you have to understand that it's the consequences of the actions you did. Like, stuff like that doesn't normally just happen for no reason, and so it really is a good teaching moment. So I would probably be upset, but I think I would understand why.
Yeah, and when you understand, it's like, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
That's like the bottom line, right? Like, the bottom line is like, I will never, ever do that again. And it's a pure testament to that, to your guys' motto, right? Team before self.
Yeah, team before self.
Showing the girls that and making fun of your teammate, that was all self. That was a self moment, and we're not about that. So, but I do agree with you. These kids are brutal. The missing the alumni game, that's hardcore. And then you're in a position where you're like, well, I have to honor the fact that I gave him this power, but I really was hoping it wouldn't get that crazy.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
At the same time, you're right. You have to honor it, because I was like, yeah, that's a little much. But I'm like, you know what? It tells you how much they care about their mission, their goal, right? And they had become a bonded group. Going back to what I said, that first championship, the standard had been set. You know, the accountability, responsibility, the collectiveness of the group in the program, not the team, but the program, because it trickles down to the junior varsity team. And those kids want to be a part of that. They're like, oh, what's the standard here? The standard here is team before self. So we needed that selfish stuff. We're not going to tolerate, because they would call each other out if a player was playing selfish. At halftime, I always gave every player an opportunity to give input after I gave mine. Okay, hey, we need to do this certain thing. Does anybody else have anything else? 9 times out of 10, it was the kids that were on the bench that had feedback to give, because we're sitting and watching. But I do that also to find out who is paying attention and who's just waiting to get in the game to do whatever. Because one of the other things I always told them is be in the game even when you're not in the game. And that was an example of them showing that, hey, I'm in the game. Hey, we got to do X, Y, or Z.
You're always auditioning, right, Victoria?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just because I'm curious, there's an extra component to that story that I'm wondering about. What did he say when people were asking why he didn't play, why he wasn't in the game?
What's up, all you expressionists out there? Do you need reliable IT support and more for your business? SPJR Computer Consulting delivers comprehensive solutions tailored to small and medium-sized businesses. From seamless technical support to professional website design and effective online advertising, we keep your budget in mind. Don't miss out. Visit spjrsolutions.com today. That's spjrsolutions.com. Your business deserves the best.
That I don't know, because like I said, when I said it was not to be spoken about again, I never heard anything else about it. I actually was expecting to possibly hear from his parents. But one of the things that I always say, and this is probably a great opportunity to share, is I always tell parents at the beginning of the season, when your child is playing a sport, regardless of what it is, if it's swimming, if it's basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever, there are 4 components that are in play every time they compete. They're trying to please you, the parents. They're trying to please their coach. They're trying to please their teammates. But the most important person they're trying to please is themselves. And they cannot do that when you have so many outside influences. And I always tell them when it comes to the team, anything that's your son may be lacking or they have questions about their contribution to the success of the team. And I use that in place of playing time. Every player wants playing time. Everybody knows that. That's why you're a team with playing time. Playing time is irrelevant if you don't contribute to the success of your team. An example would be if a kid plays, say, 12 minutes of a game, gets 4 fouls, and scores 1 point. But another kid gets this and plays 4 minutes, takes a charge, scores 4 points, and gets 3 steals. Who's contributed to more success of the team? So when you change that, it changes the mindset. And as soon as we start doing that, everybody puts forth more effort because they realize it's not about how long I'm on the court. It's what I do while I'm on the court. And going back to the parents, I said, if you ever have a question about your son, you ask him, because my job as the coach to keep him informed as to where he is. Meaning I'm not going to say anything different than he tells you, and he's not going to tell you anything different than what I said. So what I try to do is kind of help bridge the gap between parent and coach and make them understand the importance of a player-coach relationship.
Wow. You make some really good points. So when it comes to coaching, I mean, that's pretty clear. Like you've given us some really good examples of what that looks like to be on a team that you're coaching. So that's a small group, So how is it in relation to what you do with your business and your nonprofits? I mean, how many kids do you get to reach through all the things that you do? Are people hearing about your coaching, but they're not basketball players, so they're coming to learn from you? Do you do camps, seminars? How does it work? Do you have like individual clients? How do you get your community of clientele to coach?
So as I mentioned before, I started off with just one student, and ironically, it was a player from a competing team, which is ironic, but word of mouth was a big part of it. And the funny part is, why I'm glad you asked the question, why I started getting more clients had nothing to do with the basketball skills, the improvement of skills. It was parents were realizing that I was helping build their kids' confidence and their self-esteem through basketball. Because it was about how I teach, and it's not the how I coach, it's how I teach. And I'm not going to be knocking any coaches or anything, but me personally, I have issue with the way the game is played now because skills are irrelevant. Basically, if you can shoot a 3, you're on the team. Nobody plays defense anymore. Nobody plays team ball. It's give it to this player, clear out, let him do his thing. If he doesn't score, if you get the rebound, it's your turn. And that changes the way kids go to the game or how they approach the game. So now when they come to me, parents are like, well, he needs to work with 3-point shooter. I said, well, do you know how to set a screen? Does he know how to play defense? Does he know how to box out? Does he know how to do, certain dribbles or whatever? So when teaching things they don't know, it's all about the baby steps. So they're like, oh, I don't know how to do that. So let's start at the beginning. And I just started doing building blocks and rewarding every step. And as you reward each one of those steps, their confidence goes up. Now, not only are the kids going, hey, coach, they're doing better, the parents are reaching back out. Oh, coach, not only are we happy, now the parents and the kids are all sending me their schedules because now they want me to come and watch them play. So now I'm coaching my team and I'm figuring out I got 2-3 games a week and now I'm on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays. I'm trying to go to different middle schools and high schools to watch these kids play. But I'm doing it because I'm just not coaching them in the gym. I want to see them succeed. And when I go watch them play and I stay after, they see me like, oh, coach, you came. And that in itself is another part of it because I'm not their school coach, but I'm their trainer, coach, mentor, if you will. And that's how everything just built. And the story I'll share with you now is a perfect example of how it's more than the sport. I had a young lady that came we had what we call open gyms. And on Sundays, we'd have 3 sessions. At 2:00, we'd have the 1st to 4th graders, co-ed, group kids come to clinic, and we would play, and I'd teach drills and different things. And at 3, we would have the 5th or 8th grade. And at 4, we would have open gym, which would be the high school kids and the middle school kids if they wanted, because I believe in playing against better competition. Well, believe it or not, 4:00 was the biggest group. We would have like 30 kids. We only had 2 baskets, so it was a lot of kids. Well, kids would start inviting their friends. Hey, we're going to open gym. And this is how I got to meet more and more new kids because they were inviting their friends. Well, one young lady came in and she was overweight, out of shape, but she wanted to go try out for her high school team. It was gonna be her freshman year. So I started working with her one-on-one. I said, we gotta get you in shape. We'll work on some drills, but we gotta get you conditioned. Well, she started coming for about a couple months and she came in on one Saturday. She had a private lesson and she comes in and I could tell she had been crying. Well, then her mom comes in behind her and I'm looking at her mom and crying. I'm like, what is going on here? So they're both really upset. So I asked the mom what had happened, and the mom proceeds to tell me that the daughter had been really disrespectful to her and about something, whatever. And my response was, then you're bringing her to a private lesson to reward her for her behavior? I told her that's not going to happen here because I'm not going to be a part of rewarding her for her mistreating you or, being disrespectful. So I said, the hour is yours. Nobody's coming. So I pulled the young lady aside and we had a conversation. And what it all came out down to was the father lived in Texas and the daughter wanted to see the father, but the mom couldn't afford to send her to see her father. So she was acting out because she couldn't get what she wanted. And then brought the mom over. We had a good conversation. And the mom admitted there were some other contributing factors that she goes, I'm partly to blame, stuff like that. But it was a great opportunity to talk to the young lady about her behavior and that you can't be rewarded for bad behavior. And, the mom thanked me for it. And so she's, kept coming up. She didn't make the school team or anything, but that's just an example of the work to do beyond just the basketball. And it made me think of another. There's a young man who had come with his father. They drove 45 minutes for an hour lesson, and then they drive right back. Well, during the lesson, I would be coaching. The parents are always welcome to watch because I want them to see how I coach, how I interact with their kids. I don't yell. The way I'm talking to you is the way I coach. I don't believe in yelling. Pros serve no purpose. So I'm kind of teaching, going through things, and there were things I'd point out, and the dad would say, "Yeah, I told him that," and then the kid would just bark back at his dad. I'd be really rude, and I'm like, "Whoa, okay, you guys have a really weird dynamic here." So I'm going, and it's starting to bother me because I'm kind of like, I can't be a part of that because I'm rewarding that behavior. So the father got a phone call about 15, 20 minutes later. He stepped outside. And I took that opportunity to explain to him, and it was one of the few times that I get real upset. And I said, "Let me explain something to you. My father's not here. I would give anything to spend another second with my father. Yours is driving over an hour and a half to bring you here for a lesson. And the way you're talking to him, and he's paying for it, you're just going through and showing up. It's unacceptable. And I've explained to you, if I hear anything else like that again, we're done. You are not welcome to come back here." So we finish up, he leaves, and he comes back and schedules another. I was surprised, but his schedule comes back. Well, as soon as they come in, the dad asked me if he could speak to me outside. I'm like, oh God, he's going to give it to me, talk to his son or whatever. No, he thanked me because on that way home after the week before, he thanked, if I told him, I said, did you even thank your father? So he thanked his father and appreciated him bringing. And he goes, I don't know what you said, but he's been totally different, says or whatever. And I said, well, I explained to him the way he talked to you. It's just something I'm not going to be a part of. And so those are just other examples. But sometimes parents just allow their kids to do things and they'll say, yeah, hey, I told them the same thing. Well, if they're still doing it, there's a reason. There are no consequences for their actions. And those are things I tell kids. There are consequences for your actions. It may not be me, but it may be somebody else. And the other, all these examples are coming to me, but had a 5th through 8th grade open. We had our clinic, and they all have jerseys. Each age group has their own jerseys that they come with. They're reversible jerseys, so they're supposed to show up with them so we can, play. Well, one kid shows up, he doesn't have his jersey, and I'm asked, I said, "Where's your jersey?" He goes, my mom forgot." I said, "Whoa. Who's coming to the clinic? You or your mom?" And he goes, "I am." So I said, "Well, who should be responsible for having a jersey?" He goes, "Well, I should." He goes, "Great. Well, is your mom out there?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Well, you could just sit up there and I'll refund your mom's money, but you're not going to participate because you're not being responsible or accountable." And when the mom came back, she didn't have a problem with it. I said, "Hey, I'll be refunding your money or whatever." But he understood that's what responsibility was. But this is why I think what I do is important because also the awareness for parents too is, there are some boundaries that you have to set for your kids and you have to do it early.
Yep. Victoria and I just had a experience very similar to that over the summer. We were teaching a class together and we have some students that are younger, right? They're new at it. And They only have to bring 3 items every single time. Their paperwork, which is their script usually, and then a water and a pencil. That's it. And there was one of the kids that just wasn't learning.
Never brought anything. Walked in empty-handed every day. Not anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there was another kid that, well, actually, there was 5 kids in this class, and the second week, 4 of them didn't bring their script. Okay. So that was a good opportunity to talk to everybody. So not everybody, nobody singled out at the moment, but just like you said, we talk about why it's important to be prepared for anything, in life. If you really and also what you're saying when you're not prepared. What I hear, this is not important. I'm not going to put in effort, and I just don't care enough. But the irony is, after that, pretty much everybody got the hint except for one. Okay. And that one, man, every excuse you can think of. I mean, I think it was.
But it's summer. How am I supposed to bring it in summer?
It's summer. I just don't have track of my summer hours. Like, well, it's summer for Victoria and I too. Like, that one doesn't work for me. What do you mean? Well, I slept in too long. Then another kid's like, oh, I left it it's at my mom's shop because I had to get up at 6 a.m. this morning to go to the shop. I'm like, okay, so why don't you have it with you? I still am not hearing that part, And so it's amazing how when you just let them exhaust themselves with the excuses until it comes down to, just like you said, actually, your mom's not here and she doesn't need to memorize that script. You do. Also, this is a team. That person needs to rehearse with you. And if you don't have your stuff, now they're messed up. And that's not fair. Well, that tells me that you can't be relied upon. And here's the thing. In a few months, or in a few weeks, I guess, we're having auditions for a play. Everybody's going to want to be all in that play. And guess what? As a director, what am I going to think about when I think about who can be cast in what roles? I need to know that people are reliable and I can count on them, and that the people around them can count on them. And if I know that they can't, and I know it for sure because it just hasn't been learned or picked up on, then, I mean, obviously, I don't know how to say that you shouldn't be disappointed with the outcome of that. But I mean, that's on you. Take a long look in the mirror if that's the case. So, unfortunately, a lot of kids start in that place, right? And that's they want to blame mom. Oh, my mom didn't bring it, or she didn't put it in my bag, or she didn't fill up my water bottle. It's like, your mom does she drink the water for you too? Like, what are you talking about? That's your body.
You're here. Kind of, your job just almost like you're talking about. You're the director, and you're trying to determine who's going to be in a certain role based on their ability to know their lines and interact with their cast members. It's like that saying they talk about in basketball. Players are always like, "Hey, coach, put me in. I'll show what I can do." And the coach's like, "No, how about you show me what you can do, and then I'll put you in."
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're talking about. Is that the proof is in the pudding, and if you don't really put forth the effort, then what are you doing?
Yeah, earlier you heard me look at Victoria, or heard me say, "You're always auditioning." When I looked over at Victoria, and she's like, "Yep." She's exhausted on that. She's like, "Oh gosh, yes, we know." Okay, but that's been my motto for years, because it's not just how talented you are. You could be the most talented person in the world, but if you're a nightmare to work with, if you're rude to other people, if you show up late, if you're never prepared, if you always have an excuse, if you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, I don't care if you're the greatest singer, actor, and dancer in the world. You are not the person for that part, because that's just like you said earlier, that's rewarding bad behavior with something good. And it's just not worth it. And it doesn't teach you what you actually need to learn, which is humble yourself. Everybody here is important. You're not the only person. And so You're always auditioning. I'm watching when you don't bring that water bottle. I'm watching when you walk in 5 minutes late. I'm watching when you don't have your script and your pencil or when you're wearing the wrong shoes. I'm watching all that stuff. It matters to me. And I explain that up front. So the expectations are clear. So if it doesn't matter to you, that's because you decided it doesn't matter to you. And that's a
Right.
totally okay message too. But be ready for the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. But you just described, like I said in my book, the C of success, and the C is the acronym, and it stands for simplicity, effort, and attitude. You know, what you do is simple. You learn your lines. The effort is you put in the time to get better at it, and your attitude, because your attitude almost always determines your altitude in life. So it's all about approach, 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 and that has been the basis of how I coach, keeping things simple and focusing on the importance of putting forth effort and attitudes, because we all know in every facet of life there are ebbs and flows in life. If things go good, they go bad. But how do you react to that determines how long you stay in the low point or how quickly you get back to the high point. And so those are like, to me, regardless of what the topic may be, accountability, responsibility, communication, character building, is about implementing simplicity, effort, and attitude.
Yeah, you know what? That's I like small like acronyms that are, short and sweet like that because everything comes back to those, right? It all comes back to that. Firm, consistent, and fair. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the things that you can count on, and as long as you can link to those, you're on the right path. We're all going to make mistakes, but now just take the next right step. And then if you make a mistake, you go, okay, what do I need to do? And then you take another step and you just do the best you can. So with that in mind, I know that you have your Sea of Success Academy, right? So tell us a little bit about that before we have to wrap up, because I'm really curious about how this academy works for you.
Yeah. So like I said, when I was writing a book and after I wrote it, it's like, I can do an online academy. And what I did was knowing that every kid learns differently. I wanted to focus on the topics. There are 11 different areas in the book, and I wanted to create courses on each one of those. So I did a video version, audio version, and an ebook version. So you can get however you learn, you can have access to those, and once kids have it, they will always have access to it. And I'm going to ultimately kind of be adding the rest of those to it. And then once I got the first three up, I said, everybody's not going to want this full blown course thing. So I started working on the smaller aspects. And I have the affirmations, the low content digital products for um, affirmations on confidence, and I think the other is on self responsibility. So there's some low content for people to also get access to. And then also I have a free version of the overview, what the Sea of Success is all about. So people want to know what it's about and how it affects kids. But it's also a great tool for parents as well. It helps them understand what their kids are going through. So like for me, I'm an older guy, but I'm working with young people. I grew up in a different era, but I'm able to communicate with the new generation. There's a reason for that because I listen to them and I don't judge what they do or what they're doing. My job is to understand where they are, where they want to be, and how to help them get there. Unfortunately, what I hear from a lot of the kids is parents aren't willing to do that. This is my house. This is how it's going to be, and then the kids are always going to be fighting back with that. But if there's collaboration between parents. That I was just doing my podcast earlier today, Team Speak, with my co-host, and we're talking about social media and communication. And that's where we have to get better. Parents have to communicate better with their kids, and kids have to understand that parents don't want what's best for them, but parents have to be willing to talk to them. So that's where all of this stuff came together, and that's where the Sea of Success Academy came about. And it's just something that I think has endless potential. And I'll also collaborate with some of my other colleagues, and they're going to be a part of it as well as I proceed with it.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that, you had your own podcast where you're talking about stuff like this too. So that's great. And it's interesting because it's like a slippery slope, right? All of a sudden you're doing the basketball thing. You realize that you're affecting kids in this way. And then, okay, COVID hits. So, okay, well, let's make sure that we're helping them online. And then it's like, well, I'm already online. So we want to expand, not replace once COVID goes away or whatever, And so all of a sudden you've got the website, you got this, okay, well, I'm writing a book. I've got a lot to say. And clearly I've seen enough things where I noticed that things have worked or whatever. And so I'm going to do that. Now I can use that to launch this other thing. And so it's amazing to watch the kind of the breadcrumbs, as it just naturally kind of leads one into the next. And
the other.
and the impact that it has on everybody is so beneficial. So I think that's great that you're doing that. And we can, and that with online visibility, anyone from anywhere can find out about the work that you do and be a part of it. They don't have to live in the same town as you in North Carolina. They could get online and still have that access to that type of coaching, which I think is really important, especially for people like Victoria and I, where we live in the very small town where a lot of the things that we need, we have to outsource. We have to go get it somewhere else. Yeah.
So I actually have two podcasts. That one I collaborate with a colleague of mine. He's also a youth empowerment coach. But my other one I started first was Developing Tomorrow's Leaders, where I actually interview like yourself, have adults come on, educators, coaches, athletes, and things of that nature. And my last project, what I'm working on now, is actually going to be another online program. It's going to be called Beyond the Classroom. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a 12 to 18 week program. Is going to be an evergreen program, but it's going to be a small bit. It was not like full course, but it's just going to be just something I just wanted to, like you were saying, just keep adding on because you don't want to be stagnant, but there's so much changing in the world that you want to stay on top of all of it.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. And, that's kind of how Victoria and I ended up in this position. I don't know how common it is. I haven't really looked up statistics on it, but, one of the most important things that I find is, kids are being told what to do all day. They're being talked to by adults, by teachers, by parents, by coaches, by all the time. And while some of us do know how to speak with them and communicate in a way, most don't, right? And so one of the most important things that I think that youth can get is a peer that is talking with them or saying things, because that person is at their level in that stage and providing that insight. And so Victoria, being a high school student and, having all this insight at a young age, I think it was really important for me personally. It's like, I'm a lifelong learner. I need to, where are you guys at right now? How do you feel about this stuff? So she teaches me a lot of stuff, but also when she contributes to the conversation, listeners out there, if you're listening to an adult tell you blah, 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 it's like, okay, yeah, Jeff, we hear you all the time droning on. But then you hear Victoria add to that, and it's like, yes, I agree. That's true. That's how it is, And so it's just, you're more likely to have a connection when you accept the fact that different people at different stages, like you said, it's changing constantly, have a lot of insight to provide for both us as adults from a different generation and their peers.
Yep, absolutely. You're 100% right. And that's why I think it's so great that you have this as well. And I love to get on podcasts where people have similar interests and understand the importance of the work that's being done. And more importantly, you have Victoria, somebody that's younger that can relate and then listen to an old fart like me. And by the way, Victoria, old fart is a term that's used like in the 80s and 90s. I just carried over just so the new generation can understand that these old terms can still carry over to 2025. And then one other thing, Victoria, just want to add this one thing. I really appreciate it if I get the opportunity to come back on again, if you'll let Jeff talk a little bit more, because I don't like the way you dominate the conversation. But go ahead.
That's my joke. I usually walk in and say something like, I need you guys to calm down a little bit, okay? You're a little rowdy. You're a little bit rambunctious right now. I need everyone to settle down. And they're all sitting there like, Victoria, with that in mind, how do you feel about today's conversation? Anything you want to ask or add?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great conversation. Really early in the conversation, you said something that really stood out to me, and it just stood out to me personally because I just think it was smart. Is that you said like you can't get anything without working for it, which I need to remind myself sometimes because a lot of things come really naturally to me, and so then when something doesn't, it's really hard for me. So that really spoke to me. I really needed to hear that because it's normal to have to work hard to achieve a difficult goal, but like I'm just not used to that. Not like in a conceited way, but I'm just not used to having to put in so much effort. And so when I do, I get frustrated really easily, and I'm like, why do I have to put so much effort into this? But I just need to remind myself that it's normal. So that really stood out to me. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Actually, I'll give you two more that'll help you if you think about it. You don't have to write them down or anything, but hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard is one. Remember that.
Hard work. Wait, say that again.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Me too.
Oh, good one.
That's always one of the things. And that was the arena. One of the teams we had, we weren't very talented, but we played harder. We had two, I would call school first, and two big schools that we beat that we had no chance of beating, but we did because they thought they were better and more talented, but we played harder and ultimately won. So that's where that was stuck with me. And the other one is everybody knows what you're capable of. The question is, what are you willing to do to achieve what you want to achieve?
Mm-hmm. I like it. That's like breaking a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like rising above or exceeding expectations, if you will. Like capable, yes. Potential, yes. But watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
That's always been a great motivation. Yeah.
Well, thank you for all of this today, Antwaun. Is there anything that you wanted to add before we have to wrap up our time?
No, actually, I think this has been great. I think the only thing I would mention is the website's jltfieldhouse.org. We are a nonprofit 501c3 charity, so if anyone would like to make a donation to help, and we are in a small town as well, Salisbury. We have a lot of the west end of Salisbury is a lot of the low income areas, and those are the kids that we really want to connect with. It's near Livingstone College. And those kids typically can't afford to be a part of the program. So we'd like to be able to offer scholarships, and that's how we do that through donations. And we've had some really good support there. And then also you can reach Coach T's Corner through the jltfieldhouse.org website as well, or you can go to coachtcorner.com, and all the other good information is there, access to the book and the podcast and all that good stuff.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. And we will definitely be checking in with you again and having you on again. And we appreciate your time. I'm glad that you're back to, doing your thing, because you're definitely needed in this world, man. Musically, as a coach, and all those things. So I'm glad you're on the mend. So, thanks a lot, and we will be talking again soon.
All right, thank you. And I appreciate you being patient with me and getting in touch. And I'm really glad we got the opportunity. And it's nice to meet both of you. Victoria, wish you the best with your swim season. Win that championship again.
That's right. You too, man. You take care.
You guys too. Thank you.